Can you see?
Yes.
Hello?
Sir,
Hello?
जी सर,
Hello?
जी सर, जी सर,
Hello?
जी सर, बोलिए सर, जी सर, can start sir. You are audible sir. Please start.
This is Kothaliba. Hello?
जी सर,
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir, audible.
Am I audible to you, all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Sir,
you are
yes, sir.
audible. You can continue,
Hello?
sir. Please continue, sir.
Sir, good afternoon. You are audible, sir.
Hello? Okay. Let me share for you just slide through.
sir, there is an arrow on the bottom. Please click that arrow.
Oh, let me put it in this slide.
There is a vertical arrow.
Hi.
Open your visualization now.
On.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, please start.
Okay, my topic is utilization of biodiversity informatics for conservation and identifying new chemical entities. I'm not expert in the field of the bioinformatics or something like this, but I had a little training, and with my work with the biodiversity in many areas, so I thought that can be shared with you, and this is a very small presentation, but very useful for the future generations. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes,
Please
sir.
respond.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir, you are audible.
Sir, you are audible. Yes, sir.
Sir, you are audible. Please
Dr.
continue.
Mamta. Dr. Mamta Shah. Am I audible to you? Yes, no?
You are audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, we are placed with a lot of diversity, the different forms of life on this earth, and the different genus, different species, subspecies, and varieties and ecotypes are also available. This is a photograph from the one of the national park present in the extreme eastern region of the foothills of Himalayas, that is called the Namdapha Tiger Project or the Namdapha Reserve, and it is very famous for the all uh, types of tigers present in that area, and also the butterfly and leeches, different species of leeches. As you know, all of you know, the we have classified, defined the centers of origin, and we have, luckily, we have the Indian center into Himalayan centers, and which harbors a lot of species, and some of them are very specific, specialist species, endemic species, which cannot be found in the other places. And as you have seen the photographs, that this area having so many diverse form of life, just a game of, being a student from the genetics, I know that it is only the nitrogenous basis that changes the different appearance and the forms of life, but it is incredibly, the diverse, and we can have this kind of vegetation as a flora and a fauna in the in India, especially I'm talking about the northeastern region. These things are very common. Its biological diversity is quite a big term, umbrella term, referring the living organisms under that, and its definition is vast and complex from one to another. We have a lot of genetic diversity within the species, and the species diversity, also the ecosystem diversity. And varied life forms they needs a particular environment. Habitat fragmentation as well as the different anthropogenic activities has threatened these life forms, and most of them are in the verge of extinction. Though we are sitting on the hotspot or the mega biodiversity centers, it is very difficult to control the population explosion, as well as the need of the present hour. And just to fulfill these things, we have destroyed our ecosystem. As you have seen that we have the hotspots, which suppose a lot of more than around the 50% of the world flora. But it's not like that. We are sitting on a hotspot, but we have a lot of vegetation, a lot of diverse forms here, but they are already threatened. They're already threatened or under in threat, because there is limited area and there is a competition for the food, nutrients, and the filter for the flora and fauna in these areas. Also, we are having very specialist species adapted to that edaphic conditions only. So they need that kind of situation where they can grow and they can multiply. And it is also one of the major gene pool of the area where we can have the good germplasm stock in the natural area. As you know, we can have the germplasm conservation. This is the conservation strategies. The ex situ and the in situ conservation. But these are the natural area where we are conserving the germplasm and they are multiplying. And this situation is threatened nowadays with various factors. Basically the anthropogenic factors. If you see the heritage India is known for its rich heritage of biological diversity, and these are also recorded in the document uh, which are more than 5,000 years old. And nearly 6,500 native plants are still used in the indigenous healthcare system. Why I am talking about these things, the most of the drugs discovered are they have the roots in the indigenous traditional knowledge system. And with this knowledge system has transformed, we have only the validated the traditional knowledge system into modern medicines. These are the recorded plants, and we have India have this kind of the vegetation along with the wild relatives of crop plants. These are also very important source of biogenetic resources, and which can be at present maybe we are neglecting them, we are not utilizing these wild relatives, but maybe in near future it will be of great importance to the mankind. When we talk about the gene erosion, we are losing a lot of plants and animals, and that is referred to as gene erosion. Or along with the gene, we are also losing some characters, and those characters we cannot take it back to the nature by chemical synthesizing the DNA or the RNA or something like this. It's very difficult matter. So basically, the modernization, urbanization, and mechanization, these are the major areas where we are concentrating for the human civilization. And along with them, along with the modernization or the making of some malls and the housing complex and the watersheds and these things, and we have also destroyed a big area of forest land, and in that way we're losing many species. If you see Assam and adjoining states, the monoculture is one of the major problem. Assam is well known for its Assam tea and also rubber, teak, and other wood trees. And for this cultivation of tea cultivation, which is a cash crop, you can have the area under the tea cultivation and do not need much that much of attention just to harvest. After 15 days or 20 days, you can harvest the leaves and for the making tea, something like this. So monoculture has also threatened the indigenous flora of this area, and a lot of valuable plants, medicinal plants, or some economically important plants has also been destroyed. Because monoculture means we are cultivating only Camellia sinensis, that is the tea plant, and also the shade trees only. Similarly, overexploitation of fossil fuel is another major concern for us. This area is also in those areas where the fossil fuel is present. These are uh, exploited by drilling and other methods, and along with the drilling area, a vast area goes under. I mean, they become infertile, and the water bodies present in that area also spilled by the oil and the water uh, vegetation, aqua vegetation, and fishes and other aquatic animals are also affected. Introduction of foreign flora is another major reason, and we have introduced a lot of things nowadays. We have the hybrid varieties, and especially I know about Assam that we had a lot of flavored rice, the scented rice varieties, but their production is very low. That is why, uh, while introducing the hybrid varieties from the Ayer varieties or some other rice varieties, and farmers has started cultivating those rice varieties. In that way, The dormancy period is also lost for this, the viability is also lost for the local varieties. And nowadays we lost, in last 10 years, 2-3 variety has already been completely erased from the field. Orchids and other, the medicinal plants which are present in the wild state are exploited by the commercial farms. And it was done in last 20-30 years, but nowadays we have the new, laws has been implemented by the government. This is another reason how we are losing the important genetic resources. So these things are very common. I have seen the before this presentation, the one video was played, and the climate change and desertification is one of the major reasons. And the impact of developmental projects, we have affected a lot with some of the hydroelectric projects near Arunachal and Dibrugarh districts. And new and emerging biotechnologies has also, up to some extent, has affected the conventional techniques and the conventional methods. So we have a lot of policies, legal matters and administrative measures, but the implementation is very poor. So proper implementation can completely, it can have safeguard to the natural resources. All of you know the founder effects, demographic bottlenecks, and genetic drift. These are the major factor losing. We are losing the genetic diversity among the vegetables, among the medicinal plants, among the fruit variety, horticultural fruits, and so many things. This is a common thing, I've seen read list categories. Why I'm showing this one, that unknown categories is very important. Insufficiently known, there are plants. I'm concentrating on the the wild fruits varieties of northeastern region. I'm working on biochemical components and also barcoding and other things. But insufficiently known plants are those plants which are not commonly utilized by the common people. So minor fruits is one of the major area where we can work for the future generation. In some plants we have here, maybe also present in your areas, where whose status is not known, not upgraded in the IUCN, or not submitted to the that kind of platform to know what is the status of this plant. Some plants are assessed but not yet definitely known. This is, though they are not threatened category, but still a good candidate for the future research. And another thing is not threatened or not rare. Besides the conservation strategies, now all of you learned people knows the conservation strategies. We have the gene banks, and we can conserve them in the so-called International Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources is a leading organizing area. We have the NBPGR also, and a PGR, Fish Research Genetic Resources Institute in Lucknow and New Delhi, and also orchid research, citrus repository, so many things, both ex situ and in situ conditions. But besides that, to know the chemicals or the important lead molecules present in a particular fruits or particular plants, it is very important to go for the traditional knowledge system. Northeast region is having a lot of the communities, aboriginal communities, which are present here since time immemorial, and they utilize the the plant resources for their daily basis, their daily needs for medicinal purposes, for food and food, so many things. So indigenous knowledge system is very important because it is rich biogenetic resources. It's kind of heritage. It's a traditional knowledge. It is a culture that handed over from one generation to the next generation. So it is a traditional knowledge. It is also the means for the people, a livelihood for the people who practice this kind of things. I mean, the medicines or the other elements. It is available. They make medicine from available plants around them, and that is why it is cost effective. It's not very costly. As you know, major drug discovery is based on the native medicinal plants knowledge, and this is well known. That is why it is a prospective field of further research. So R&D work needs to be concentrate on traditional knowledge system. That is what I feel. But at the same time, IKS has traits. It is Indian they hardly explain the total decoction, what the plants are mixed here, and it's kind of non-organized practice. Only people to people, area to area. This is the uses is different. It is an oral tradition, not in the written form. The date nowadays, their progeny they not for this kind of practices, and that is why, with the data of the elders, lot of knowledge is also vanished. It is completely unexplored and unexamined materials, scientifically unexplored and unexamined. Because there is no standards and schemes. A lot of people want to say that they do not have a scientific base. This has to be proved by different experimental techniques. So we are in the gene-rich area, but technology poor area, as you know. So that is why a lot of things happens, because the lot of genes are moving toward the northern pole, where the most of the developed countries are present, and there is a continuous biopiracy from the southern to the northern areas, because they are technology rich area and we are gene rich area on. So those inadequate laws nowadays, as I said, that we a lot of laws are also implementing authorities, but proper implementation of laws are very important. So why I'm taking this biodiversity conservation to the traditional knowledge system? There is a point that I'm here in this Dibrugarh University. I am just thinking, what should I do research, and what should I make a project for the next submission in the DBT, DSC, something like this. The thing is, if you do not have a database, the things is getting difficult for you. We do not know how much money we have in my pocket, and I'm planning to buy something like this. That we should know the how many plants and what are the plants are available in your area, as well as what are the medicinal functions of the medicine efficacy or the pharmaceutical efficacy of this plant, which are traditionally using by the indigenous population. That is very important, and that has to be done from my point of view. That is documentation and then making database. So biodiversity informatics is a very simple techniques. It's something like writing a book, but not that kind of tedious job, but you have to manage the knowledge of biodiversity using modern techniques of data and information management. So we should have a single integrated multidisciplinary knowledge base, okay, and information resource for researchers, policymakers, students, and local communities. This kind of integrated multidisciplinary knowledge base can lead to the discovery of new chemical entities or the therapeutics. Now, the question is where from the data will come. So there are many sources. It can come from the scientific explorations or literatures, also traditional medicine practitioners, and the ultimately it can constitute a new data that can be utilized by the our future generation. As it is said that we are only the we are we are only the looking for the biodiversity. We are keeper of this the biodiversity. This belongs to our future. The simple area is what species does a plant belong to, what is its name, as we do in the botanical nomenclature and other things. The plants grows near it, and what are the specific area. So ecological data are very important, and the major components of database should be the chemical information and species information, its bioactivity if it is already published, and biogeography information, and ethnomedicinal information that is coming from the local communities. Similarly, the data source reference number, these things can be kept together with the help of the necessary software. It should have the I made a few databases. That is why I have this kind of presentation in front of you. With the interview only, we can use the different kind of queries. We can have the different kind of queries. What kind of medicinal plants are used, which part, and what time, and how the preparation is made, how it is used. Okay. Similarly, secondary data should be the scientific one, the taxonomy, phytochemistry, bioactivity, biogeography, medicinal use, and application. This is a small medicinal plant database I prepared for my area in Upper Assam. We found it in the University website. So this is the home page. It's something like writing a book, and not very expensive because the software we're using, most of them are the MS Words. The database is also MS Office and SQL. The local needs I have presented. So local name is very important because the same name can be different in an area after 10 kilometers. So for identification, the local name is very important. And the photograph is one of the major area. This Flacosia zangomas is one of this slide, especially in Assam is called the ponial, but this is one of the indigenous plant of this area. Though it's found in certain areas also in the border of China and Myanmar. So photograph is very important for identification. This was about the where we have started the project investigator and other things. Thing like the confidential area, username and password, and feedback is very important. We can upgrade, we can correct or we can get some additional information from the other people also. In this database, we have linked different international as the national where we can verify or identify the things better way. So for the Harvarian, this is very important. My question is the as benefits. Benefits is the as you know, as per uh, biodiversity, National Biodiversity Authority, the people's biodiversity register is very important, and everywhere state has people's biodiversity register. So we're also in the process of biodiversity district wise and site wise or the region wise per and something like this. The information can easily be accessed by the known source for the future bioprospecting and can be a common platform for scientists, researchers, and local communities. If you see the intangible benefits, it can be sustainable utilization and safeguarding. Sovereign the genetic diversity, we have already I guidance. So there is also a scope for entrepreneurship. So if you see the future prospect, we can have an IPL and a field impact. So it can lead to capacity building. Most important thing I feel that the validation of traditional medicine in the scientific language, that is very important. As you know, 80% population in developing countries are using the local medicines, still using the local medicines. As the statistics says that one of the 4 Americans use the herbal medicine, one of 3% from UK. Similarly, more than around the 50% US patent on medicinal plants based on the traditional knowledge systems. We are much behind compared to China, where China has the 6% of the total global market of US dollar $80 billion. And India shares only 0.3% of the total, the products. I'm sure I could share in a very goes to Kanshima, is my friend, for giving this opportunity to share my thoughts. The members and the participants in this is international short-term training program on biodiversity. Thank you. Hello.
जी सर हेलो we can hear you
Sound all right.
we can hear you sir
What idea sound?
please continue
Hello.
please continue sir
And if you have any question, anybody can ask me.
ये बोलूं कि जो सारी गाने
Dr. Vijay, can you hear me, Dr.
Yes.
Vijay? Dr. Alexander.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Dr. Vijay, thank you very much, sir. And you bring certain invaluable skills in our Isttp-7, and I really mean it. Dr. Neo, in fact, you are an incredible advocate to deal with the problems of biodiversity erosion, threats, and its conservation in northeast of India, especially Assam. Sir, we need more people like you here with us. I offer a sincere words of thanks on behalf of my college, my principal, Dr. Uttam Singh, our organizing secretary, Dr. Mamta Sharma, and all the members of Isttp-7. Sir, मुझे याद आता है हम लोग क्लास में एक रिफ्रेशर के लिए और सीखा हमने around environmental biology and biodiversity and microbiology too. और वर्ड्स हैं जो मैं आपके लिए डेडिकेट करना चाहता हूँ। ये चिराग बेनज़र है, ये सितारा बेजुबान है। ये चिराग बेनज़र है, ये सितारा बेजुबान है। ये अभी तुझसे मिलता जुलता ये अभी तुझसे मिलता जुलता कोई दूसरा नहीं है कि उन रास्तों ने जिन पर अभी तुम थे साथ मेरे, उन रास्तों ने जिन पर अभी तुम थे साथ मेरे, मुझे रूबरू पूछा तेरा हमसफर किधर है, तेरा हमसफर किधर है। So please,
thank you, so great.
Too
kind of you. Thank you.
For a while, I am inviting Dr. Mamta Sharma, organizing secretary of Isttp-7. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
hello, mic. Can I hello? I'll hear my Like, you try it, I would like to take your attention toward the check box, which has so many places for you. And people are saying wonderful session, nice session, and I believe that your presence and these compliments we really want to thank you for your dedication and patience. Everything that you joined us So now we have another keynote speaker.
One question.
See Dr. Ramya this year. Dr. Kabir is working as the assistant professor at the University of China, and he has qualified at Europe as a PhD. He has 9 publications in China's national and international journals. He has attended many trainings and programs organized by various organizations in and abroad. He has published several strengths, and since 2008, he is teaching in a permanent affiliated college under Living MKU, Dhanbad, Jharkhand. डॉक्टर रवि आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आप लोगों का हमने आपकी स्लाइड्स लगा दी यू वांट अस टू look at slides right can you hear yeah Dr. Ratan please speak we want to check your voice as well
Then may I share my
yes you are very much audible so please say the next step we'll move the slides from here so stage is all yours
shall I start, man?
Yeah, this is the first slide, Dr. Abhyantan. If you want us to change the slides, you just say next to us.
Okay, madam.
We are on the first slide and now we are on the second slide.
Okay.
Please go.
Am I audible, madam?
Yes, very much, Dr. Abhyantan. You are audible.
Okay, madam. Then I start. A very good afternoon to all, one and all present here. Myself, Ravi Ranjan, Assistant Professor, working in the Department of Zoology, Bokaro, Jharkhand. Today, I am going to deliver my lecture on the topic of biodiversity, taxonomy, and identification of freshwater fishes. As we know that biodiversity and its conservation are now vital environmental issues of international concern, as more and more people around the world begin to realize that the critical importance of biodiversity for our survival and well-being on this planet. While it is doubtful if any species are being added through speciation into earth treasure of species, but there is no doubt about their continuing losses. The biological wealth of our planet has been declining rapidly, and the accusing finger is clearly pointing the human activities. Data shows that the current species extinction rates are estimated to be 100 to 1000 in the pre-human times. And our activities are responsible for the faster rate. So, first of all, I would like to discuss a little bit about the biodiversity. What is biodiversity? That biodiversity refers as the different form of life on Earth, like different plants, animals, microorganisms, the genes they contain, and the ecosystem that is formed by them. Here I am going to discuss basically biodiversity among the fishes, because we know that the fishes are very important group of vertebrates. It consists of largest number of vertebrates in our planet. If you see the fishes, the number of fishes, the diversity of fishes is so much, so large. So fishes are the very important group of animal having a cheap source of protein for a large number of people around the whole world. It also provides nutrition and employment to the country, many countries, people from the India, people from China, and many developing countries involved in the taking different types of employment through this. Nowadays, fishery are a kind of sector where people tax lots of benefit and it generating lots of employment in developing countries like India, Bangladesh, China. Now our indigenous fishes. What is indigenous fishes? I am going to just explore the indigenous fishes. The fishes which are found in ponds, lakes, rivers are known as the indigenous fishes, because human activities increase in these areas, so the diversity become decreasing day by day. So first of all, after biodiversity, I'm going to discuss what is taxonomy. A taxonomy is the science of description and classification of organisms That is essential theoretical and applied biology. So taxonomy have basically two main goals. One is taxonomy and systematics for the academic interest, the study of diversity of living organisms and their phylogenetic relationship. Practical interest, second goal is practical interest, that is the inventories, survey, documentation of biodiversity and compilation of the identification tools. For the proper management of natural resources, we need information on number of species and their identity. So here I am going to present a data or a diagram, pictorial diagram of IUCN. The IUCN maintain a rate. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, yeah. So here I saw IUCN maintain a red data book or red list, which is a catalog of taxa facing risk of extinction. Previously, so sir also shows this kind of things in their slide. So what is the purpose of preparation of red list is to just I describe the purpose of the IUCN to publish the red data. First purpose is to provide awareness to the degree of threat to biodiversity. Second, provide global index about already decline of biodiversity. Third, identification and documentation of species at high risk of extinction. Fourth, preparing conservation priorities and help in conservation action. Red list has 8 categorized of species, 8 category of species. Here we can see that what are the 8 category. First category is extinct category, the species which are no more here. Second, extinct in wild. Wild means they are not present in the natural habitat. That is, next is regionally extinct. That means the species which are extinct from a region, from a specific area. Next is threatened category. It's subdivided into 3 parts. First one is critically endangered. Second one endangered. Third one is vulnerable. All are considered under the threatened categories. Next is near threatened. The species which are near threatened. And last group is least concern, in which we found that the species is in our environment and it is not in very risk category. So that kind of species are known as the least concern species. And some IUCN category that is not data deficient and not applicable and not evaluated. Basically, we are working with the evaluated. That is the 8 category which I have shown in the data. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, what are the taxonomic category? First of all, I want to discuss one thing that if anyone want to save any kind of biodiversity, then it is very essential to know the identification of a particular species, because as per the IUCN category, there are so different kinds of different kinds of data that provide us knowledge that what species is extinct, what species is endangered or critically endangered, or is it species is least concerned. Then we first of all we make a picture that what kind of species we are going to study. So first of all we have to categorize species according to the IUCN red list, and we can easily find it through the net or through the internet. So basically, we working with the taxonomic characters. What taxonomic characters? That evidence from which relationship between taxa is inferred. Any attribute differing from another taxon simultaneously available for comparison. What are characters we use when we are going to searching any kind of species? The first character is morphological character. So morphological character divided into several subtopics like external character, external morphology, like all attributes like colors, internal anatomy, like hard part, as we can say that the bones, a special structure like genitalia, either it is male, female, male is extinct or female, embryological stage larval stage, leptocephalus, karyoology, and other cytological factors. Next, physiological character, we have to find that metabolic factor, body secretion, genic sterility factor, etc. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Molecular character. Molecular character, we have to find that immunological distance, electrophoretic differences. Electrophoretic differences, it will be described for characterization of genetic variability within and between natural population. We can see many differences within a population, within a species. So we can differentiate among them by using the electrophoretic differences, also by amino acid sequence of the protein, by the DNA hybridization, because one DNA from one species may vary from other DNA of the same species of the same population. So we can differentiate between them by the DNA hybridization, DNA and RNA sequencing, or restriction endonuclease analysis, or other molecular differences like we can use can use mitochondrial DNA or rDNA. That's the behavioral character like courtship, and other ecological isolating mechanism, and other so many different kinds of behavioral pattern by which we differentiate the species. So, and next is ecological character. Next slide. Ecological character like habitat and host, food, seasonal variation, parasites, host reaction. We can use this kind of parameter also to differentiate different kinds of different kinds of species. Then geographical character, general geographic distribution pattern, sympatric, allopatric relationship of population. We can also differentiate by them. And now the collection of species is very important. By that, we can separate the different species from each other, and we can conserve that species that is near to threatened or critically endangered, and we can differentiate those species which are least concerned. So freshwater fish identification we have when done, then so many methods like method of collection data we have to put in the jar. So we can use this kind of things in our research work. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, sir. Okay. When we are going to identify the fish species, then basically we use morphometric and meristematic characters, which is seen externally, like morphometric character like measurement were made point to point on the left side of a specimen whenever possible. Proportion of body parts are expressed in percentage. Next slide, sir. Sir, next slide. Sir, may I audible? Yeah, this slide. Proportion of body part are expressed. One minute. Proportion of body parts, left side to proportion of body parts are expressed in percentage length and parts of head in percentage length. Arithmetic count like fin rays, we can count the fin rays, scales, and other branchiostegial rays, gill rakers, pharyngeal teeth, vertebral number, count and measurement usually follow the scientist who is the Hubs and lecture. Here, next slide, Chala. Here we can say, I can show one thing, that the piece is carved like rohu, katla, mirgal. By using different parameters, we can no sir, that is okay. We can measure the piece by using different parameters for the carps like rohu, katla, mirgal. If we see other kind of fishes like catfish like Clarius heteropontius mistus, the parameter is changed. if we see the piece like purchase, next slide, sir. Sir, cat pieces, next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. Cat piece, purchase, then the parameter is also changed. Solid minnows, then parameters to change. Lochage like gurami, guntia, zebra fish, the parameter is also changed. Minnows, for minnows, parameter is also changed. When we are study the mouth, then mouth, the structure of mouth is different in different pieces. Like some pieces mouth have terminal in position. Next slide, sir. Sir, next slide. Next slide. Next slide, sir. Okay, okay. Terminal in position, some pieces inferior, some pieces superior. We can also see the gill rakers. We can see caudal fin shape. Caudal means last fin of the fish, tail region fin of the fish. So we can also differentiate between among the fishes with the help of the caudal fin shape. Here we can say we can visible different kinds of fishes caudal fin shape. Next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. Color description. We can also differentiate the fish by using color pattern found in their body. One fish have blotch just near the tail region. Another fish have bars over the body. You can see here. One fish have ocellus in their tail region. One fish has stripes, and one fish has saddle in their body. Next slide, sir. We can also differentiate fish by using their leaves shape. We see here the different kinds of fish found in the different types of fishes. Some fishes so one kind of leaf, another fishes so another kind of leaf. So different kinds of fishes have different kinds of leaves. Next slide, sir. We can also differentiate between among the fishes by using their orbital flap, intestinal coil, air bladder also. Next slide, sir. We can differentiate the fishes using their antral side, mouth structure also, their lip position also. We can see here different kinds of lip position to differentiate the fishes structure, to differentiate the different species of the fishes. Next slide, sir. Okay, we can also differentiate by barbels. These are the barbels, different kinds of barbel, number of barbels. It can easily shown in the fish's mouth, ventral part. We can also differentiate this kind of pattern, barbel pattern. These are not the barbels, sir. So we can also differentiate barbel structure. Next slide, sir. We can differentiate the fishes by using their fin structure. Dorsal fin is a fin which is situated in the fish upper side. So we can also differentiate the fish by viewing their dorsal fin structure. Next slide, sir. Next slide. These are the caudal fin structure. That is the dorsal fin structure. We can differentiate also the fishes by using the caudal fin structure. Next slide, sir. The next slide. We have to isolate the skull by using technology, by using boiling and heating method, and we can also differentiate the fishes by using the their skulls, like their neural zygophysosis, by their neural spines, because different types of fishes have different kinds of structure over their body. Next slide, sir. Next slide, sir. Now I'm going to talk about the diversity of the fishes, some picture of the fishes by we can differentiate the different kinds of fishes. As per biological rule, if we are going to the discuss different kinds of family, we found that the first family of the fishes that were existed in the our area, that is Angulidae. Angulidae fishes are the looking like the snake. So body is cylindrical, gill opening lateral, not confluent. PDNA, it means pectoral fin, dorsal fin, and anal fin. In this kind of fishes has been well developed. Example of this fish is Angula. Angula, it is found in the area, coastal area, and it is a migratory fishes coming from the marine water to the fresh water. Next is Notopteridae fishes. The body of the Notopteridae fishes is compressed, abdomen is scaled with double row of scutes, anal fin long. What is anal fin? Just you have looked at the side, that is the below is the anal fin, and the anal fin is very large in these fishes. Dorsal fin is a short. Dorsal fin is the upper side fin. So the fish is looking like compressed body, and abdomen is killed as is killed. Next slide, sir. Clupidae fish, if we see the Clupidae fish, then the body is compressed, abdomen is scaled, and with a single row of scute, caudal fin pod. Here we can say the fin of caudal fin. Caudal fin is a pod. Pod means both the side is a little bit longer than the middle side. So example of the Clupidae fish is Goodacea. Next slide, sir. And Saprinidae. Saprinidae is the dominant family of our Indian country. It consists of lot of variety in our India, and the characteristic features of the fish is head with no skull. If scales, if you see the head of the Saprinidae family fishes, so there is no scales on the head of the fish. Next is jaws. Jaws divided of teeth. Dorsal fin single. Dorsal fin means upper side fin is single. Body with medium to large scales. Weberian apparatus. So what is Weberian apparatus? I'm going to describe what is Weberian apparatus. It actually it is a bone, and it consists of 4 bones called ossicles, and the bones link swim bladder. Swim bladder is a structure present within the fish. It is also known as air bladder, and it connects the inner air. So it actually working like a hearing organ of the fish. It is characteristic feature of the Saprinidae fish. Next slide, sir. So next, the Silorhynchidae fish, body with arched back. You can see here the fish is arched and flat ventral surface. Its ventral surface is flat. Mouth is ventral. Rostral cap is present. Pair fin, horizontal. Pectoral fin. Pectoral fin is the fin which is situated near the mouth, that is paired, and the spines raised is 4 to 9 in the Silorhynchidae fishes. Next Bottidae group of fishes. Body of the Bottidae group fishes is oblong, compressed, and erectile ethmoid bone. It is a bone which is present in the groove under or before each eye. 2 pairs of rostral barbs. You can see the rostral barb close to each other. Caudal fin forked. And the body color, you can see saddle-like structure. That is the mark of the Bottidae family. Next slide. Now Covidae family, body fusiform, mouth subterminal, barbel 3 to 6 pair, bones erectile ethmoid, spine, caudal fin rounded or emarginated. Balitoridae family, you can see the some structures of the fishes. Balitoridae family, back flat, back arched, ventral surface flat, mouth ventral, no erectile ethmoid spine, whereas previous family there is a erectile ethmoid bone, spines 3 or more barbels, Bavarian apparatus with Y-shaped tripus. It has Weberian apparatus with Y-shaped tripus. Next slide, sir. Now, Nematchalidae family, body subcylindrical, elongated, lower lip often interrupted, no ethmoid spines, paired fins with single simple rays, 2 pair of rostral and 1 pair of maxillary barbels. Different kinds of barbels are found in the fishes, which also differentiate the one fish to another fish. Next slide, sir. Now, the Siluridae family, this comes under the catfishes, and we can differentiate them by using their barbel patterns. So next, the Isttp-7 family, head broad depressed, mouth terminal, eye dorsal barbels, short 3 to 4 pair dorsal fin with 1 spine. Adipose fin. What is adipose fin? Adipose fin is the fin which is situated just behind the dorsal fin. Next slide, sir. Next slide, please. Ratidae family. Ratidae family, pectoral and dorsal spines enlarge. In this family, pectoral and dorsal fin spines are enlarged, eyes dorsolateral, anal fin short, reduced supraoccipital process and distal plate element. Posterior cranial phalangeal large and prominent. And the LED family, dorsal fin absent, fin small, anal fin very long. Anal fin, we can see here in my first slide, first or fourth to fifth slide, I have shown all kind of fins. So you can visit that and easily identify which is dorsal fin, which is adipose, which is anal, and which is pectoral and pelvic. Next slide, sir. Bagaridae family, dorsal fin with spine, 6 to 7 soft rays. Adipose fin, pectoral spine serrated, 4 pair of barbels found in different kinds of Bagaridae family fishes. I have shown here like Mistus, Sparata, Oleria. Next slide, sir. Echisidae family, dorsal fin with a strong spine and a short base, 4 to 5 soft rays, body with parallel row of tubercles, cryptic color. It has cryptic color. Then Amblypsidae, dorsal fin covered with thick skin, adipose fin confluent with caudal fin in some, dorsal fin base short, anal fin base short, barbels 4 pair. We can differentiate this fin by using their barbels. It has 4 pair of barbels. Lateral line is absent or purely developed. Lateral line is a line present in between the body. Next, sir. Next slide. Next slide. This is the Sisurative family, body with small uncruciferous tubercle, adipose fin, dorsal fin short, fin without spine, thoracic adhesive apparatus in some. It is very important parameter to judge this kind of fish. Thoracic adhesive apparatus is found in some kind of Sisurative fishes. Next, sir. Next slide. Calgary fish, in which Clarius coming, dorsal fin base long. Here we can see that the dorsal fin of the fish is very long. Dorsal fin, whereas Clarius family of the other fish like Heteropontius, caudal fin rounded. 4 pair of barbels are found, air breathing labyrinthine organ arising from the gill arches also found. Next is Amblypsidae. It has semi-transparent body. Dorsal fin usually 7 or 8 spine, 7 to 11 soft rays. Anal fin with 3 spine and 7 to 11 soft rays. Next slide, sir. Mutuality family. Here we see that the dorsal fin with widely separated spine, red, and 8 to 10 soft rays. Anal fin with 2 to 3 spine and 7 to 11 soft rays. Pectoral fin high on body. Pectoral girdle associated with 3 extra-scapular bones. Pelvic fin sub-abdominal, 1 spine and 5 branched soft rays. Mouth moderate size, teeth small or absent. Next is Ballonote family, both upper and lower jaw extend into long. Here we can see that the jaws is extended, long beak with numerous needle-like teeth. Next slide, sir. Apollocylidae family, Synbranchoideae family. Now, body is eel-like in this species, pair fin absent, dorsal and anal fin vestigial. Here, dorsal and anal fin is vestigial in this family. Caudal fin is small, eyes is small, anterior and posterior nostril widely separated, air-breathing suprabranchial pouches are also found. That is help it in desiccation time, oxygen deficiency condition in the atmosphere, less of water in the water bodies. Next slide. Chaudhuridae family, no dorsal and anal fin spines. That is the characteristic features of this family. Mastosemelidae family. It has spine, long spine, dorsal long spine, 52 to 131 soft rays, anal fin with 2 to 3 spines and 30 to 131 soft rays, body covered with scales. Next family, sir. Next slide, sir. Now next, Anaventidae family. Mouth, it has long, large mouth, upper jaw weakly protrusible, dorsal fin with spinous and soft rays, tenoid scales. It has tenoid scale. There are 4 kinds of scales found in the faces. That is cycloid, gynoid, tenoid, in which it has tenoid scales. Whereas in Saprophytidae family and most of the family, cycloid scale are found. Next slide, sir. Channidae family, in which Channa group of fishes are coming, body elongated, long dorsal fin and anal fin, no fin spines. Whereas Nandidae family, head large, mouth large, high protrusible dorsal fin continuous. We can see the dorsal fin of this fishes is continuously. Caudal fin rounded, lateral line incomplete. Lateral line in this case of the fishes, lateral line incomplete or absent. Pelvic fin usually scaly axillary process is present. Now, Bedidae family, mouth is small. In Bedidae family, mouth is small, only slightly protrusible, no subocular shelf, dorsal fin with 6 to 7 spines. Here, 6 to 7. Fins character are very important parameter to differentiate different kinds of fishes. By using fin parameter, we can differentiate the fish. Next, sir, next slide. Now, Syngynethi family, body elongated, series of bony rings, one dorsal fins, usually 15 to 16 soft rays. Here, 15 to 16 soft rays are found. Anal fin very small. Its anal fin is very small, usually 2 to 6 rays only. Pectoral with 10 to, P is equal to pectoral fin, 10 to 23 rays, P is equal to ventral. Ventral is absent in the case of Syngynethi family. Caudal is absent in some prehensile. Next, Tetradontidae. We can also see this is balloon fish because it is looking like balloon. Body inflammable, body naked or with short prickets. 4 fused teeth in jaws. It has 4 fused teeth in jaws. Caudal fin with 10 principal rays. No procurement rays. Next slide, sir. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Can you please open the chat? Say if there are any questions. That is not escape. Yeah, it's better. So thank you, Dr. Ravi Ranjan. We have a lot of appreciation messages for you in the chat box. And your presence in these passages shows the success of Isttp-7. The deliberation was, even I was hearing it when I was sitting there. The slides were very beautifully made and the content was amazing. Thank you so much. You have joined us for the very first time. So on the behalf of all the organizations, my patrons for Uttam City and every my technical team, thank you so much for being with us and we look forward to having you more with us in our coming conferences. आपका बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद सर, स्वागत अभिनंदन.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for providing me opportunity to present my work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See, Dr. Ruchi Sharma is online. Dr. Ruchi Sharma. Yes, Dr. Sharma is that beautiful smile is there. So let me introduce you my favorite, Dr. Ruchi Sharma. She's currently working as a professor and director at Jharkhand University, Mumbai. She has work experience of 21 years in the field of education, corporate and social work in the national as well as international volunteer organizations. Dr. Ruchi Sharma has completed her postgraduate social work, sociology and psychology with PGDM and honors diploma in computers. She has done PhD in sociology from Bharatanagar University, Mumbai. She has published research papers in reputed national and international journals and presented papers in conferences. Her research interest areas are sustainable development, social cohesion, sociology of youth, organizational culture. Her recent publications include Strategic Framework, a roadmap for communities' adaptations and resilience in constrained environment, a research paper published by Springer Nature in 2021. Shifting paradigms in human resource management while striving for the service excellence in the tourism industry, published by Springer Nature, Switzerland, 2021. मैम आपका बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है अभिनंदन.
Thank you.
जब भी आपको अपने प्लीज देखते हैं.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mamta.
You can, the stage is all yours, and we can start with the deliberation.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to each and everyone present here. So today I'm going to speak on biodiversity and environment conservation from a psychological perspective. I'm going to show you the slide. Just kindly let me know if the slides are visible and also if they are moving or not. Are the slides visible?
Not yeah, and very much visible now.
Okay. Is the second slide visible? I am moving the slides. Are they visible? Next slide.
Yeah, you are on the first slide right now. Yeah, move to second. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean they are moving now.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, dear participants, we have done deliberations on biodiversity and conservation from the scientific perspective and from the various there were various speakers, those who have thrown light on the conservation as well as the biodiversity aspect in a different way. My session will be going to be on from the psychological perspective. I'm going to explain the concept of biodiversity and environment conservation. It is estimated that 75% of Earth's land surface has been fundamentally altered by human activities. And these activities, as you can see on the slide, 66% of the ocean has been negatively affected and 85% of wetland areas have been lost. We have seen the combined effects of land use change and habitat fragmentation, overharvesting, pollution, and climate change has resulted in average decline in monitored populations of vertebrates of nearly 70% since 1970, and extinction rates that are orders of magnitude higher than average seen in the geological record. Every year, we extract an estimated 55 billion tons of fossil energy, minerals, metals, and biomass from the earth. The world has already lost 80% of its forests, and we are continually losing them at a rate of 375 kilometers per day. At the current rate of deforestation, 5 to 10% of tropical forest species will become extinct every decade. Every hour, 1,692 acres of productive dry land become desert. 27% of our coral reefs have been destroyed, and if the rate continues in the same way, remaining 60% will be gone in 30 years. We have a garbage island floating in our ocean, mostly comprised of plastics, the size of India, Europe, and Mexico combined. So we can just think about that, what is the size of that garbage island. We are using up to 50% more natural resources than the earth can provide. So who all are using all this? Who all are doing these changes in the the earth, in our environment? It is we. The threats to species are so severe that there is growing scientific consensus that we are entering the sixth mass extinction, the fifth being the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction, even 66 million years ago, that eliminated all non-avian dinosaurs. Recently, the COVID-19 pandemic, which we have gone through with devastating effects on societies and economies worldwide, most probably emerged from interactions between people and wild animals in China, and we have seen the consequences that can arise from human encroachment into wild habitats and from poorly regulated exploitation of biodiversity. So these are some of the examples as how the changes or how the action of human beings is resulting in contaminating the environment as well as being a threat to biodiversity. As the current ecological crisis is rooted in the human behavior, lifestyles, and ideologies play an active role in environment and environment change. Human perception and action cannot be understood independently of the image one forms of it. So we can say that the place where people live, the interaction of the people and the place or the land, it has got a severe impact on both. That is, we affect the environment and environment affects us. So it is necessary to acknowledge the complexity of human action. When one focuses only on what can be clearly observed and measured, one quickly paints a distorted picture of the social reality. So it is not only the environment, like many times we say that earthquake came, or there was the landslides happened. So it is not just only that the environment is doing to us, but rather the what we have earlier done to the environment, because of that the results which we are facing. As conducted research which was conducted by Battle and his colleagues in 2016, it was observed that human behavior can be approached from a scientific perspective in different ways. For instance, by focusing on attitudes, on ways of reacting to stimuli, or on different forms of social identity or social practice construction. In the on the screen, you can see the diagram of human environment interaction and how it affects the physical environment, how the environment gets affected with the socio-cultural environment, and what are the environmental orientations, the behavior, our behavior towards the environment, and what are the products of our behavior, which again, it's a cycle. Like if we are our behavior, if we are behaving in an irresponsible way, creating too much pollution or posing threat to the environment, then automatically it will be going to have a change on the physical environment, which will be going to have an effect on us. So it's just a cycle. Whatever we are giving, we are receiving it. No, this particular my session is I'm trying to focus on the psychological perspective, because environment, when we're talking about, we as all human beings play very important role in the conservation of environment and biodiversity. So when we are talking from the psychological perspective, psychology is the study of human behavior. It studies about the mind functioning. So there are various approaches in psychology. Initially, the study started from the nature, and towards we move towards to the nurture perspective. So various schools of thoughts are there, like biological approach, psychoanalysis, cognitive psychology, humanism, and behaviorism. We are focusing more on, when we are talking about bring the changes in the environment, we are focusing more on the behaviorism perspective in this session. So behaviorism, when we are talking about all behavior, it has been Watson, Skinner, all these are the psychologists, those who worked in this field of behaviorism. And the experiments which were conducted by them, it clearly signifies that whatever we exhibit, the behavior we exhibit in the society, our behavior, it is learned from the environment through conditioning. So it is our social environment which teaches us as how or what our behavior should be. There is a special branch in psychology which is known as environmental psychology, which studies about human and environment interaction. So it examines the interrelationship between environment and human behavior. This field defines the term environment very broadly, including all that is natural on the planet, like social settings, our physical environment, the learning environment also it talks about, because we keep on learning new things by living in the society, and also the informational environments. So now the question comes, what an environment psychologist do? They are mostly the researchers, and they focus on answering the questions like why some people choose to recycle, or what motivates people to adopt environmentally positive behaviors, or why certain surroundings make people feel happy and productive. Since the beginning of the 21st century, environmental psychologists, they have been particularly concerned with the understanding the relationship between human behavior and the anthropogenic destabilization and the destruction of global ecosystems. Most prominently, they are focused in the case of anthropogenic climate change. Environmental psychologists investigate the underlying reasons for environmentally significant human behavior, the potential for human behavior change, because as the school of behaviorism says that they please kindly mute your mic. So environmental psychologists investigate the underlying reasons for environmentally significant human behavior, the potential for behavior change, because it is said that our behavior, we learn the behavior, as well as concrete measures and interventions to foster the behavior change. So the various researches have been done, and all this research is often focused on action models, quantitative survey studies, and correlational analysis of possible underlying factors of the behaviors of interest. Based on such theories and respective empirical findings, environmental psychologists traditionally suggest or leverage points to promote the behavior change to policymakers. There are four paradigms of environmental psychology. As you can see on the slide, on the screen, it is there. And these four paradigms are expert paradigm, psychophysical paradigm, cognitive paradigm, and experiential paradigm. Now, what is the meaning of expert paradigm? Here, the assessment is done by highly skilled observer, therefore it is known as expert paradigm. And the assumption which lies beneath it is that people's evaluations are emotional and subjective. Therefore, an expert is chosen for objective and reliable assessment. And the unit of analysis is all kind of environmental features. Next paradigm is psychophysical paradigm. Here, the value seems to derive from action of environmental stimulus features on passive respondents. And the assumptions which lies below this paradigm is that aesthetic value is considered as an objective property of the stimulus, which is outside the perceiver and does not vary with the perceivers. So here also the unit of analysis is environmental features. Another paradigm which is very important is cognitive paradigm. Here comes the thinkers. Aesthetic value comes from the way information is given meaning. So if we say that, yes, if we teach a child that there is life in a plant, he will think twice before plucking the leaves or plucking the flowers. So here the humans are considered as thinking creatures. Select those aspects of environment which are of value to them. And here the unit of analysis is human observer. Next is experiential paradigm, which derives value from experience. So people here are considered as not mere observers, but participants who create the experience. So here we talk about the human environment interaction. So in all this paradigm, if you see, the focus is on to do the study of as how or what is there behind, what is the motive of the behavior of an individual. And especially from the experiential paradigm, when we are talking about, it is the experience. So if you go to a particular barren land where there is no water and you are feeling very thirsty and you don't have any water to drink at that particular moment, you will realize that the value of water. So in this way, the behavior of the people, it is being analyzed and it is understood so as to how the people can, their behavior can be changed. Because if we want to change the behavior of the people, then first we need to understand their behavior, that what are the causes of the behavior. Now, there are various, you can say, the different ways to study, or the different, we can talk about the approaches. So when we're talking about the biographic process, a major danger of primarily movement-based analysis is to view the lives of members of social groups predominantly as the consequence of individual decisions. It is wrong, because when we're talking about the biographic processes, it focuses on that we live in a society and our engagement in pro-environmental or climate movements, they are the context of our own biographies. So, exploring resistance towards the lifestyle changes, pro-environmental policies, or pro-environmental information are all play very important role. So, from a biographical perspective, it can be reconstructed which conditions promote engagement in social movements and other forms of environmental activism. Also, it is also important to know that our emotional aspects like climate anxiety, grief, place attachment from a biographical perspective, all these have a major role to play in our behavior. For example, if we are talking about the climate mitigation measures, and if we are telling the people that you need to use the materials, or you have to follow the conservation approaches, then they should be able to relate it to their own life. If they are not aware about that, what is the meaning of adversity, or how these things can lead to too much consumption, how or can lead to can affect the conservation of our environment, then it will be going to have an adverse impact. So biographical pathways to identities based on the engagement for the society and environment, rather than arrangement with with an unequal and unsustainable status quo. Next comes the our everyday orientation. So important environmental psychological insights can be gained by addressing basic pillars and constitutional principles of everyday life. This links directly to key question of environmental psychology as on how and why people in everyday life contribute to the destruction of global ecosystems without consciously intending to do so, and might be very helpful to identify new starting points for effective pro-environmental actions in everyday life. A key advantage of qualitative everyday life based research in environment psychology is that it is able to capture ambivalences and contradictions. So there are different differentiated possibilities for tracing symbolic constructions of reality by individuals and groups, by examining how people deal with uncertain, ambiguous, and contradictory initial conditions. Like, for example, electric cars are being presented as pro-environmental technology and a sustainable solution to transport problems, while at the same time, experts and various newspaper articles have emphasized the carbon dioxide extensive production process or local environmental problems due to mining for lithium, cobalt, and rare earth, as well as resulting social justice issues. So, understanding the experience of conflicts caused by infrastructure design versus divergent behavior or moral expectations is taken into consideration. For example, car-friendly infrastructure design, on one hand, the infrastructure design is being made so that the people can have smooth driving experiences. And on the other hand, we are asking them to use more cycle, to go don't use the vehicles, use more public transport, cheap and quick flights, where versus to make trains or buses. So in this, with a contradictory way, on one hand, it is being said that use this. On the other hand, we are promoting the way of living which is not environment friendly. So many a times it has been seen then, like for example, the pricing policies for ecological products, they are kept at times very high, and the people, those who are coming from the poor family or from middle class, they prefer buying the low cost item which is not environment friendly. So the uncertainties, the way the products are being positioned, or the way the people are trying, they are contradicting their own views. For example, if a policy is made for environmental conservation, another policy is there for the smooth urban development, or you can say focusing more on the development issues related just from the economic perspective. Next is the reconstruction of models of modes of perception of social structures. Now we have seen that our life can be understood as a social, from the social perspective, as we are members of various social institutions, and each and every social institution has their own rules and structures which we have to abide by. So by analyzing biographical processes and relating them to institutionally anchored structures, it is possible to understand how socialization processes lead to the formation of specific knowledge and value structures, as well as habitualized ways of experiencing, perceiving, and acting, which ultimately form the basis for both self-limitations and the limited perception of possible options. So we can investigate the influential social group of policymakers. What characterizes this group? How homogeneous is that group? And how do policymakers reconstruct the discourses around environmental issues? What meaning do they attribute to certain information or arguments? Are they highlighting a certain information, or are they building the ground to focus on a particular argument? So how do they make sense of the world? What are their norms? And who or which countries are excluded from this group and don't have any say in the decision making, and how this group is being perceived by other groups. So exploring what different social groups associate with common terms such as sustainability, climate change, environment, carbon emissions, and which different meanings are ascribed to this. It is very necessary to understand the rationale behind the promotion of a particular ideology in order to make it as an intervention for creating the change in human behavior. So we can say that the environmental factors, it it leads to the emotional responses, like it could be satisfaction or dissatisfaction. It could result in excitement or non-excitement, or it could result into responsibility or negligence. So both are the opposite sides of one behavior. And from here, the responses as what are our emotional responses, it leads to our behavior outcomes. So are we accepting that yes, the problem exists still, and we do have to do some kind of resolution, or we want to avoid key, we are least bother whatever is happening, at least doesn't matter, I'm having a good life, I'm getting everything what I want, why should I worry about the climate, and who knows about the future, I will not be there in the future. So what kind of behavior we are trying to exhibit after going through all these responses? There is the ABC normative identity work, and this was model was given after doing the research, and it is very famous model also, where A stands for authenticity, B stands for belonging, and C stands for control. So here, when we are talking about the authenticity, we strive for authenticity and coherence, and we try to appreciate ourselves. We exhibit that yes, we are genuine and we are coherent, and we try to engage in more responsible way to consume the things in a sustainable way. So being part of a change that leads to more reflexive and healthier lifestyle. When we are talking about the belonging, B stands for belonging. We strive for belongingness and recognition, that we are trying to associate ourselves to the society or a valued part of a community. And here the integration is more on the solidarity, like group community feeling is more there. Whatever the group is going to do, we are going to do that only. Next is the control. Here we are trying to strive for control and responsibility, where we are being able to experience, shape, and act effectively. So here the consumption is a means to feeling in control, to have choices, to have an impact. So consumption is considered here as a mean to deal with our own anxiety, to overcome our emotional responses. Now, going through this particular framework, we can see that whatever is happening, the people, they relate it, they attach symbolic value to it. Now, what does this symbolic value? It is related to our self identity and impression management. Self identity is as how we perceive ourselves. So many a times we have seen that self-identity can be considered as the label people use to describe themselves. So when we are talking about the environmental self-identity, here we are trying to focus on the extent to which people see themselves as an environmentally friendly person. For example, I'm a green consumer. So a person who believes in that he's a green consumer, he or she is a green consumer, will be going to exhibit the behavior related to that only. So this self and identity is very, very important, and it predict our behavior over and above other variables. And what are other variables like attitudes, perceived behavior control, subjective norms, and it provides the identity as and give a unique insight into understanding our behavior, which cannot be explained by any other behavior. So this self-identity, creating the self-identity is very important as how we want to portray ourselves and what we think about ourselves, especially. Environmental self-identities are associated with a range of other psychological variables, and environmental self-identities particularly strongly associated with people's values, in particular their biospheric values. Although identities are relatively stable, there is evidence that they can be influenced by behavior change and reminders of the past behavior. So yes, the self-identity, although it is very strong in a person, but at the same time, it can be changed by going through the process of behavior change. Next is impression management. So impression management refers to the idea that people tend to try to control the image other forms of them. So the influence of impression management on reported environmental behavior can also be is also very important, as we can say that socially desirable, if we want to predict our image, as if we want to show exhibit ourselves as the socially desirable person, then if we want to create that impression, then we will be going to show that we our behavior will be going to present favorably, environment favorably to others. And when someone is asking us to report our environmental behavior, then many times we will be going to overestimate as how often we engage in pro-environmental behavior. Also, it leads to, like, when we're talking about the people with a strong desire to make a good impression may report more pro-environmental behavior, supporting the idea that such behaviors has positive symbolic value for these people. So the impact of the symbolic value of environmental behaviors depends on people's acknowledgement of the symbolic value. For example, if a person believes that no, it doesn't affect me, whatever there is happening in the environment, I'm least bothered about conservation. So it will be going to have the sense of identity will be less here related to the pro-environmental behavior. Environmental behaviors can only have expressive symbolic or a status function if actors and observers attach the same symbolic meaning to this behavior. So, for example, a person going for the latest vehicle, purchasing a latest car, might not impress everyone. And similarly, the family who is installing a solar panel in their home, it will not be going to impress everyone in their neighborhood, because if everyone will be going to perceive it in their own sense, how they will be going to attach value to these things. So it is basically, when we are talking about especially about the people, then as human beings we adopt environmental behaviors not only for functional reasons or some convenience, but also because of the symbolic meaning of those behaviors. And many times it has also been seen that people say something about themselves and they communicate something, like a person saying that yes, I'm going to clean this particular beach side, and I have done so much cleaning of the collecting the plastic bottles from the beach side and all that, putting their photographs or of this cleanliness drive on social media platform. And on the other hand, you will see that they are when their own behavior is being questioned, they are carrying the leather items or the coat or the purse made of leather. So people's self-identity, in particular their environmental self-identity, plays a significant role in understanding mental behavior. People are motivated to act in line with how they see themselves, which is, you can say, self-consistency also. And also people are motivated to manage the impression others form of them, because we as social human beings, we are, or social human animals, we can say that we are more worried about as what others are thinking about ourselves. So the impression management plays very important role. Relatively visible, unique, and costly environmental behaviors in particular are likely to be strongly influenced by people's desire to be consistent with how they see themselves and to make a good impression on others. So to investigate, now the focus is here is on as how we will be going to investigate that which socialization or politicization process tend to precede environmentally harmful behavior, or to what extent, in which context, environment-related reflections become relevant to one's own action in the first place, and how these relate to certain internalized value structures giving symbolic meaning or the image of one's own past and ideas of one's own biographical and social future. It would be of much importance what kinds of pro-environmental attitudes, values, or social norms are reproduced in the concrete context of individuals, and how these behaviors are shaped through relations of power, the economic structure of society, and the dominant ideologies and forms of politics. Environmental psychological issues should be addressed in conjunction with key global challenges, because the environment of a particular place is not just the impact of it is not just related to that place, but it goes beyond that geographical boundary. So this means that especially social inequality research, where we are talking from different country perspective, like developed country, developing economy, etc. Poverty research and the study of polarization and division in society have to be linked to environmental psychology, as well as the critical reflection of basic pillars of the contemporary world, such as the meaning of the nationality and related limitations and possibilities of global action and public spaces of dialogue. Humanity's impact on biodiversity are the result of our action. We can say, yes, these actions are undertaken by us, and we have different roles, like as a consumer, as a producer, or as a policymaker. We directly or indirectly impact our ecosystems. For example, the rapid clearance of the Amazon is driven by the action of the consumer across the globe, regional policymakers who undervalue forest retention, and ultimately local ranchers who are incentivized to convert forests to pasture. The illegal trade in wildlife, um, rhino horn, pangolin scales, tiger bones, and elephant ivory, involves suppliers who hunt the animals. There are intermediaries and perhaps the corrupt enforcement agents who facilitate trade and transport the products to market. And there are the people, those who purchase it, that is the domestic as well as the international consumers. So the impact of people's behavior on biodiversity are of course not only manifest in less developed countries, but you can see it in developed countries also. For example, illegal persecution of birds of prey in UK uplands is the result of choices by some gamekeepers to shoot and poison raptors, to limit their predation of red grouse by some hunters, to pay exceptionally high prices for large daily bags of grouse, and by policymakers to resist attempts at tighter regulation of the shooting industry. So this is what I was talking about earlier, that when we are talking about the environment conservation, it is not just the people telling or forcing the norms on the less developed countries or developing countries, but here the developed countries are also indulging in, you can say, they need to be more strict when they are talking about their regulations and policies. Because human activities are responsible for driving ecosystem decline, reversing current trends will require profound and persistent changes to human behavior across actors and scales. Therefore, it is essential to bring the a mechanism as to change the behavior of the people. So we can wonder as how to encourage pro-social behavior, including actions that ultimately affect biodiversity outcomes. A growing body of research related to climate change suggests the importance of social norms, risk communication, emotion, and choice architecture in changing our behavior. As you can see on the slide over here on the screen, so the behavior change model, where the knowledge, information is required, which because of that we will be going to be aware, and we will try to, our attitude will be going to be reshaped through it, and as a result we will be going to initiate the change leading to the behavior change in our society. Social marketing techniques have been used to tackle a variety of biodiversity problems, and their potential is increasingly recognized. So people adopt behaviors for many different reasons. Often these are functional instrumental reasons. For example, people eat when they are hungry and drive their car from one place to other place. Sometimes, however, people do things because of their symbolic meaning, as what we have studied, we have gone through it just now. As this behavior signifies something to the actor or to others, who they are, would like to be, or think they ought to be. Some people may proudly drive a big four-wheel drive car, others may proudly drive an electric car, and this may have little to do with the price of the car, whether it is taking the person from one place to the other only, or their fuel consumption also they are least worried about. Instead, people may own and drive these cars because they signify their unique human qualities. Like, for example, the person who says that I am environmental friendly will go for the green car, for the electric car. And the group membership also, like if I belong to a group or the group where who maximum people are there in an environmental activists, then I am going to support this behavior. So this a recent study in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Brazil, they use locally tailored social marketing campaigns to shift social norms and increase sustainable fishing among communities of a small scale fisheries. So as it's shown in the earlier model, the people many times they don't know that their behavior, how their behavior is affecting a cost on the environment. So once if they are told as there is another way to do the same thing which is more environmental friendly, it will initiate their it will arouse curiosity, and ultimately it will lead to the change in their behavior. So we can say that if we want to bring the environment friendly behavior among the people of the country, we can say at initially we need to be make them more environmental sensitive. The knowledge of ecology should be there. Attitudes towards pollution, technology, and economics. The research needs to be done. Then moving to the ownership level, where personal investment in issues and the environment is required, and knowledge of the consequences of one's behavior, both positive as well as negative, and also the personal commitment to issue the resolution. After knowing all this, after having all the information, we move towards the empowerment variable, where the people will be going to have the knowledge as well as the skill in using being environmental friendly. They will be going to understand as what will be going to bring the change in the environment in a positive way, so they have the intention to act. And also at the same time they will be going to have the knowledge, they will try to search from their own as how to be more environmental friendly, and ultimately it will be going to change the behavior of the person. So right, coming from the initial level, where in the earlier slide it was about knowledge, here it is, you can see this has been combined into entry level, ownership level, empowerment variable, and changing the citizenship behavior, or you can say the environmental behavior of a person, bringing the change in the behavior. So we can say that we need to identify as what are the ill effects which are being caused because of our behavior. Then we need to prioritize as which behavior we will be going to get away with, and then we need to assess as how to modify our behavior. So we need to assess the interventions which will be going to show some result, and after planning carefully, incorporating the intervention, we need to estimate or re-evaluate as whether the whatever we have done, our behavior, has it brought any change in the so-called the goal for which we have planned those changes. This is the last slide, and here you can see in short, if we are talking about we as a person, there are certain personal values which lead to collectivism, competitiveness, environmentalism, risk aversion, and the personal beliefs which we are having: climate change perception, adverse consequences, energy affordability, energy reliability, self-efficacy, social efficacy, trust other people action, and trust authorities action. So all these are our beliefs, and the norms are, under norms the categories are our own action responsibility, our social action responsibility, that is we are promoting for example green energy, and also the policies which are there for making the changes in the environment, or you can say for bringing the change in the environment, so as to have a more a place to live for us as well as for our future generation also.
If any questions, if have any questions, please write in the chat box. Meanwhile, I would like to tell Dr. Sharma that chat box is full of appreciation for you. And I think your presence in these messages, they reflect the success of Isttp-7. And the topic is, I was listening it very carefully, and only one thing was speaking to my mind again and again, that think globally and work locally. We have to change our psychology first to save the environment. And the topic is amazing. Biodiversity and environmental psychological perspective. I think this topic is just the very first time in all the conferences we have done. And even I'm attending many conferences abroad in India, and I've not heard much about it personally. So let me congratulate you for selecting such a wonderful topic. I think this what is the role of education for political socialization?
See, can I answer this, Dr. Mamta?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, Dr. Arun, you have asked what is the role of education for political socialization. Now, the political socialization, first we need to understand the socialization. If we are talking about, then it is as how we are doing the learning. Now, the kind of education which is also, although it is not related with this particular topic, our environment related topic, but yes, the education is important. Like, for example, right from the beginning, if in the educational institutions, what kind of values we are teaching the students, it will be going to lead to them to the their socialization, whether it is for political socialization you are talking about, or whether you are talking about the socialization for the environmental friendly behavior. So, for example, during the classes, if they are being told, for example, just telling you, like many a times the books which are written, they are written from the Western perspective, because most of the researches which have been recorded, they are from the Western scholars, and as a result, what happened, people try to copy or try to just copy it in an Indian perspective, which is not true. So which will not give reliable or valid result. So as a result, what happened, from the Indian perspective, if we want to bring any solution, for example, the political crisis, if we are talking about, or we want to study the political parties, we should understand that the overall our social the society consists, the division of society, initially it was through the one system, whereas in abroad, in other countries, it was on the basis of race. So where the social structure is different, the policies or the way we are going to indulge with the people over there, it should also be different. So new research should be done. And if right from the school, if they are being told, the people are, that politics is not a place to get into, there is so much, as they say that people fight over there. So what a small kid will going to understand, that I don't want to be go into this particular line, because I don't want to get into all this conflicts and all. Whereas for a good nation or a good country, we need good politicians and good, well-educated politicians. So yes, the education plays very important role in the political socialization or in the socialization of a human being towards being a responsible citizen of the country.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you for the time. I really understand that how much time it takes to prepare such kind of preparation, getting the slide and the material, and put hard words on that. Excellent.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Mamta, for calling me here. I'm really thankful to you. Thank you so much. I'm thankful to audiences also for listening to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with this, we come to the end of the second day of Isttp-7. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks from the organizers, from my digital principal and members team, for all the speakers who spared their valuable time, that they are very knowledgeable people, excellent people, expertise who are having expertise in this specific field. I would like to tell all the speakers that we, the organizers, and all the participants are very, very happy and delighted to have you here with us. And I hope you all had fun too, the way we had. I would like to thank all the delegates who are joining us. And since 4 hours, we are reading our day method is still more than 100 plus. I would like to tell all the participants, 3 things are very important to get the certificate. And every time I this WhatsApp got bombarded कि मैम certificate नहीं मिला, certificate नहीं मिला, तो 3 चीजें आप जरूर करें, registration कराइए, feedback form भरिए, और साथ में होम असाइनमेंट सबमिट करिए, क्योंकि ये यूजीसी के नॉर्म्स है। अगर आप इन तीनों में से एक भी चीज नहीं करेंगे तो हम आपको सर्टिफिकेट नहीं दे सकते। Let me put it in English again. You have to complete 3 things. First is registration. Second is the feedback form. And fourth is the home assignment. If you don't complete any one of these, we will not be able to provide you the certificates. My WhatsApp is bombarded, totally bombarded. You hear about it now, the certificate मैं issue करती हूँ. I don't know how to answer those questions. Like every time I have to go and check your name and I found that there's no registration. So how we can find the certificate? So my dear friends, please do the registration. Registration form is still open. Go to our messages. You go in the group, on the WhatsApp, on the Telegram. You will find the link there. Do the registration and get the certificate. So now this is Dr. Mamda Sharma along with my major principal Dr. Kamsing Ji, my technical team Sheetal, Rishi, and Dilip is signing off of this Jubilee Hall, RRC campus. We will see you sharp tomorrow at 11 a.m. And you'll be wonderful people, beautiful people, lovely people. Enjoy your day, be safe, stay blessed, and have a great rest of the day. Bye bye, and see you tomorrow 11 a.m. sharp. It is standard time from the campus of RRC.